Hi everyone. I'm kind of back. That project I was talking about that took all my time is now underway and the bulk of the work has been done. So I can relax a little and use the spare time I now have to try and put together those long overdue videos that I have filed away in my dusty ME folder. So I've been collecting these Mandanimals now, wanting to put them together in a video for some time. Here goes. Number 1. Tiger's ears have spots on the back. All subspecies of tiger have white spots or flashes on the backs of their ears. The reason for these remain mostly unknown, you don't say. It has been speculated that these markings are illusory eyes to fool prey, or they may serve to discourage other predators who normally hunt and attack from behind. Like they're not intimidating enough. Number 2. Owls and bats can now swim. Seeing an owl swim is unusual, and they have no way to defend themselves while in the water. Owls are unable to take flight while swimming, so they must leave the water and dry their feathers before flying again. The title of this article from Bored Panda really says it all. Quote, "Apparently owls can swim now," unquote. What about bats? Well, they too are great swimmers. Once they're in the water, however, like owls, they cannot take flight again. They have to find somewhere that isn't steep to climb out, which is why so many bats drown in swimming pools. So next time you see a bat swimming in your pool, chances are he's stuck and just swimming around trying to find a foothold to get out. So you can help it out by fishing it gently out and popping it on the side somewhere. Or if you're feeling really generous, install a small ramp somewhere so that they, along with other little critters, such as frogs, can easily climb out. Otherwise they will just swim around, exhaust themselves, and ultimately drown. Number 3. Chickens flying. Apparently, chickens can fly, just not very far. Depending on the breed, chickens will reach heights of about 10 feet and can span distances of just 40 or 50 feet. The longest recording flight of a modern chicken lasted 13 seconds for a distance of just over 300 feet. Thing is, let me tell you a little story of my last visit to Spain. When I was in Spain a couple of years ago, I got attacked by one of my friend's chickens or hens. Aggressive little buggers. Anyway, I spent 2 hours hiding inside, too afraid to venture out because the damn thing was actually waiting outside for me. Not paranoid at all. In the end, I grabbed a broom to keep the bastard at broom's length. To get to the point, they could kind of half fly. They jump at you and just flap about all over the place. Very disconcerting. But the bugger couldn't fly. I swear to God, if it could have flown like that, I would have been housebound the whole 2 weeks I was there. I only hope that they are not evolving and can't fly long distances, because the way 2020 is going, I would not be at all surprised if that friggin' chicken lands on my doorstep. Number 4. The blue bees. This one was a little confusing because wherever I looked on the internet for images, they were all mixed up. Some people were posting articles about one bee and using the image of the other, and it was all over the place. But basically, we now have 3 bees that people swear they never knew of before. The blue calamintha bee, otherwise known as Florida's long-lost blue bee, the blue carpenter bee, and the blue orchard bee. Number 5. The pink river dolphin. Yes, this one. Firstly, pink dolphins. That's new, and apparently not so rare anymore. And then there are river dolphins. And they really are a thing. And if you go to this article from Worldwide Fund, you can see that there are a few species of river dolphins. And this is what whales.org says about river dolphins. Quote, "River dolphins look like primitive marine dolphins and this is because their ancestors lived in the ocean. However, the different species are not closely related. They have been separated geographically and evolved independently for millions of years." Unquote. Number 6. Poodle Cats. Now, Poodle Cats are a new breed, but according to Mother Nature Network, Poodle Cats, officially known as Selkirk Rex, have been around since 1987. In 1987, a feral cat in Montana gave birth to a litter of 5 kittens, but one of them looked a little different from the others. The female kitten had thick curly hair that breeders had never seen before, and she caught the eye of Persian breeder Jerry Newman. Newman adopted the kitten and dubbed her Miss DePesto, after the curly-haired character in the television show Moonlighting. Now, 25 years and 9 generations of curly, furred cats later, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine, Vienna, have confirmed that the felines are a genetically distinct breed. Today, the ancestry of all Selkirk Rex cats can be traced back to Miss DePesto. Number 7. The Gharial. The Gharial is found only in the Indian subcontinent and is a unique and rare animal with its distinctive long, thin snout. Gharials are one of the biggest species of crocodilian. Male gharians can reach up to 6 meters in length, though they typically reach around 4 meters long. Sadly, gharials are listed as critically endangered by the IUCN Red List, which is one step away from being extinct. Speaking of extinction, some believe this species was already extinct and should in fact not be walking this earth at all. Scientists from the Zoological Society of London found baby gharials in a remote region of Nepal after 30 years of believing they were extinct in this area. Number 8. Frogmouth Birds. Yeah, the Frogmouth Birds, the new Muppets of 2020. Like 2020 isn't weird enough. And there are lots of species of the frogmouth. The tawny frogmouth, marbled, Papuan, and more. The frogmouths are a group of nocturnal birds related to the nightjars. They're found from the Indian subcontinent across Southeast Asia to Australia. They're named for their large flattened hooked bill and huge frog-like gape, which they use to capture insects. Their flight is weak. They rest horizontally on branches during the day, camouflaged by their cryptic plumage. Up to 3 white eggs are laid in the fork of a branch and are incubated by the female at night and the male in the day. They're known to take larger prey such as small vertebrates, frogs, mice, etc., which are sometimes beaten against a stone before swallowing. I wonder if this is the equivalent of tenderizing steaks. Number 9. The White Bellbird. The loudest bird in the world. Apparently, I don't know if I have found residue of sorts, but whilst researching for this video, I came across an article from Australian Geographic, who are pretty reliable as far as this topic goes. According to them, in an article from 2012, the loudest bird is the kakapo. Its mating call reaching up to 132 decibels and can be heard from over 7 kilometers away. Or perhaps the kakapo is another ME, because the bellbird only reaches 125 decibels, which means it is not the loudest. But according to Wiki, quote, the white bellbird makes the loudest call ever recorded for birds, reaching 125 decibels, determined from a study published in 2019. The record was previously held by the screaming piha with 116 decibels, unquote. So either Wiki is wrong, along with The Guardian, as they agree with Wiki, or Australian Geographic. Or we have a typical meshing of realities that is hallmark to quantum shifting. Oh yeah, and what's with the wattles dangling off of his face? Number 10, Beavers' orange teeth. This is a crazy one. Beavers now have orange teeth. And did you know that while other rodents have magnesium in their tooth enamel, beavers have iron? So beavers have orange teeth for the same reason we have red blood. As far as I can remember, young beavers' teeth are not orange. This changes over time as they get older. This may be an argument from non-mandected to say that we're getting confused with images of baby beavers, but the fact is I cannot recall ever seeing orange teeth on any beaver, baby or not. Number 11, metallic butterfly chrysalis. Incubating inside this mirrored palace is Mechanitis polyimnia. Sounds like a disease. The orange spotted tiger clearwing. And while it might seem that such flashy dwellings would leave this animal prone to predation, the opposite is in fact true. Butterfly pupae are easy targets, defenseless protein sausages that are too busy scrambling and rearranging their insides to fend off would-be predators. It forces them to conceal their identities in order to survive this dangerous life stage, and polyimnia relies on light bending to do the trick. They're actually very hard to see in nature, given the way all the colours are reflected, explains Dr. Keith Wilmot, one of the world's leading tropical butterfly experts. Contrary to some comments online, these structures don't contain metal particles. They're made of chitin, the same substance that gives insects like jewel beetles their shine and turns the sea mouse into a rainbow-coloured fibre optic lamp. Some speculate that being shiny has other protective benefits too. It's possible that the reflective properties of their chrysalis mask the butterfly larvae by making them look like something else entirely. Hanging drops of water, shafts of light, empty pupae, or dry, curled leaves. For hungry animals that get too close, the mirror effect might also be enough to scare them off. Birds, lizards, and other visual hunters, like jumping spiders, scour native plants for prey, and reflected movement or the sudden appearance of their own reflected form would likely initiate a bail sequence. Number 12, the Amazonian grasshopper. This colourful grasshopper is only found in the tropical lowlands of French Guiana in northern South America. I had to really search for information on this one. It is not easy to find, and even the wiki page is probably the skimpiest page I've ever seen on an ME, and that's saying something because I've seen a fair few. It is one of the telltales, as far as I'm concerned, as to whether something may be an ME or not. Number 13, massive barrel jellyfish off the coast of England. Underwater cinematographer Dan Abbott and biologist Lizzie Daly were diving just off the coast of Cornwall this year, 2020, when this tentacled titan emerged from the murky waters. Rumours of barrel jellyfish growing as big as and bigger than humans had long been known to science. Daly ended up swimming with the jellyfish for about an hour, while the video Abbott captured would become a massive viral sensation. Abbott said later, quote, "I didn't even know jellyfish got that big. unquote. Did you catch the contradiction? Number 14, the rainbow blanket octopus. Meet the blanket octopus, a bizarre, impressive, gorgeous feat of evolution that might actually be even weirder than it looks. First things first, the most notable thing about the blanket octopus is its sexual dimorphism, a term used to describe how the males and females of many species of animals and some plants possess different physical characteristics beyond their sexual organs. Sexual dimorphism can manifest in many different ways. For example, only the male pink robin is pink, and you can count the bands on the blue-banded bee to tell the sexes apart. Males have 5 blue bands and the females have 4. Size is another common one. This is the case for the blanket octopus, but it just so happens to exhibit one of the most extreme cases of sexual size dimorphism known to science. The females, which can stretch up to 2 meters long and 10 kilograms in weight, grow to be 40,000 times heavier and 100 times larger than the males, which are, wait for it, 2.4 centimeters. Quote, imagine a female the size of a person and the male the size of a walnut. Evolutionary biologist Tom Tregenza told John Pickrell back in 2003 when the first ever sighting of a live male blanket octopus was reported from the Great Barrier Reef. The females use their fleshy, detachable cape to make themselves appear intimidating to predators. Number 15, the vampire fire snail. These endemic fire snails only live in one place around the world, in the cloud forest of the Cameron Highlands, a mountain range in Malaysia. The fire snail is like no other. Its deep black and vibrant red colours make it look almost like a vampire goth-type pet. The stunning fire snail, otherwise known as Platyma tweedii, is arguably the largest endemic snail from the peninsular Malaysia. It is also said to be the largest land snail species you can find naturally on peninsular Malaysia, having shells that can grow up to 7 centimeters in diameter, with bodies big enough to make a grown man scream. Apparently, the snail was first reported in 1939 from the Telom Valley in Cameron Highlands. Since then, it has been reported in Temengor, 80 kilometers north from Telom, and Kelantan, 100 kilometers northeast from Telom. And that's it. Reports said that these snails were uncommon even in their habitat, and based on where they have been sighted, you have the best chance of finding them in a 100-kilometer radius around Cameron Highlands. Fire snails, along with other species of snails, are often used in and alongside food. Their secretion used in cosmetics, God, thank God I thought there was going to be food, and even their shells are used in jewellery and decorative objects. Sadly, these snails can only be found in certain kinds of forests that aid their ability to live. They are extremely hard to keep alive in captivity. Tourism, logging and agriculture have been hitting the Cameron Highlands hard over the past century, and between the years 1947 to 1997, Cameron Highlands lost around a third of its forests, with the number said to have increased since then. There is no exact number placed on how many fire snails are wandering around throughout the world. Yeah, like they wander, more slither. But due to their specific way of living and the destruction of their most common living quarters, extinction may not be so far away. For such a striking-looking snail, holding the title of the biggest land snail endemic to peninsular Malaysia, there is a surprising lack of literature on it. What little info there is comes from a scientific paper and snail trading websites. There's not much about it being said outside of forums, and some of the papers only mention it in passing. They are also not listed in the IUCN database, which keeps track of how threatened a species is. Maybe it's because not many people are aware that these snails exist, due to it only being found in a spot that's barely a dot on the world map. Or maybe it's because it's an ME. Number 16, the Vietnamese Mossy frog. What a cutie. Meet the Vietnamese Mossy frog, a master of disguise. The Thelederma corticale, common names Mossy frog, Vietnamese Mossy frog, and Tonkin bug-eyed frog, is a species of frog found in northern Vietnam and China. The common name Mossy frog arises from the fact that its skin is a mottled green and brown that resembles moss growing on rock and forms an effective form of camouflage. While this is quite an interesting camouflage, it isn't the only way that the Vietnamese Mossy frog is able to disguise itself. In contrast, it holds the ability to throw its voice several meters, something which is rarely seen in the animal kingdom. As a result, even if you're in the vicinity of the frog, it can still be extremely difficult to actually find. They also have large sticky pads on their toes, which makes them quite adept at climbing trees, and they have a soft underbelly. They measure about 61 millimeters, it's about 2.5 inches, in snout vent length. The females will grow larger than the males and can reach sizes of about 8 to 9 centimeters, or 3.1 to 3.5 inches. This amphibian has an additional defense mechanism. It will curl up into a ball when frightened or threatened and play dead. This should mean that most predators will walk past without even knowing that the mossy frog is close by. Its natural habitats are primarily evergreen rainforests and subtropical forest, where they've been found inside pools in hollowed logs placed by the local villagers. It is a semi-aquatic that is found in caves and steep rocky cliffs. Number 17, clearwing butterflies and moths. Okay, this was a bit of a rabbit hole. I started by gathering information on the clearwing butterfly and moth specifically, and in true research/ME fashion, other clearwing species started appearing. It was also quite difficult to establish what was what, because with this kind of thing, there are many articles and images out there where people simply label them wrong. So I had to find the source to make sure I was putting the correct information out there. It was a mini rabbit hole, as I said. Let's start with the clearwing butterfly. The glasswing or clearwing butterfly is most commonly found from Central to South America as far south as Chile, with appearances as north as Mexico and Texas. This butterfly thrives in the tropical conditions of the rainforests in the Central and South American countries. The transparency of its wings results from the combination of several properties. Wing material has a low absorption of visible light. There is low scattering of the light that passes through the wings, and there is low reflection of the light impinging on the wing's surface. And then there's the hummingbird clearwing moth. The hummingbird moth itself is considered to be an ME, otherwise known as hawk moth or sphinx moth. But here is the glasswing counterpart. The hummingbird clearwing is a moth of the hawk moth family. Coloration varies between individuals, but typically the moth is olive green and burgundy on its back, and white or yellow and burgundy on the underside. Its wings are transparent with a reddish-brown border. Beating its wings rapidly, it hovers to collect nectar from a variety of flowers. The combination of its appearance and its behavior commonly leads to it being confused with a hummingbird or a bumblebee. The hummingbird clearwing is found in a large portion of North America, with a range extending from Alaska to Oregon in the west and from Newfoundland to Florida in the east. It is a migratory species and is most common in southern Ontario and the eastern United States. It has 2 broods a year in the southern portion of its range, but only 1 in the north. As a caterpillar, it feeds on honeysuckle, dogbane, and several types of fruit trees. Due to its variable appearance, it has often been mistakenly described as multiple distinct species. It was first described by Johann Christian Fabricius in 1775. The coffee bee hawk moth, pellucid hawk moth or coffee clearwing, is a moth of the family Sphingidae. The species was first described by Carl Linnaeus in 1771. A widely distributed moth, it is found in the Near East, Middle East, Africa, India, Sri Lanka, Japan, Southeast Asia, and Australia. It has transparent wings and a stout body like a bumblebee. Its wingspan is about 45 to 73 millimeters. Its marginal borders are very narrow and black. Abdomen varies in color from yellow to green. Add to that the new species of wasp-mimicking clearwing moth from Peninsular Malaysia. Interesting, the same place as the fire snails. This is clearly, pardon the pun, different to the coffee bee hawk moth, which has a fatter body like that of a bee, hence the name. This one has a slender body. I remember covering a wasp-mimicking hawk moth in one of my videos, but I do not recall it having clear wings. This is the tiger clearwing moth, and this is the clearwing wasp moth. Number 18, QR code in baby finches. In order to present this, I have just taken the original post from Anatomica and redesigned it with new text to fit the screen, but the content is exactly the same. Okay, look at this QR code. It's just a bunch of black and white marks, right? You can't read it, but your cell phone can, and they can contain quite a bit of information when scanned. These types of code patterns aren't really limited to people. Baby finches have these patterns inside their mouths. They're only visible when the babies open their mouths. The babies can't see them, but it contains information for the parents. Not only do they use it to tell the kids apart, but the colours and patterns change based on their age and health. With a quick scan, the parents can identify the children, get a sense of their general health, and keep track of their growth and development. They make decisions on whose turn it is to get fed. They also use it to identify unrelated children. Some birds like to drop off their babies in the nests of other birds so they can live the child-free life. All baby birds are kind of equally ugly, so it's hard to tell them apart. When they have the wrong mouth code, the parents know that it's not their baby. But there's something else. QR codes have these squares. They tell the camera what direction the code is facing. So even if you scan it upside down, it still gets picked up. Essentially, it tells the computer that the most important information is within this area between the squares. You see these shiny dots? They do the exact same thing. Birds often nest in holes in trees or birdhouses, and it can be pretty dark inside. The glowing spots tell the parents that food should be placed exactly in the area they encompass. There was a study where scientists painted over the spots and the babies got less food. Wait, actually not all birds have these. How do the parents of these babies get all this info? It's not that they don't have them, it's that we just can't see them. The patterns are in UV. You just got to live your life knowing that the world is awash in codes and messages we can't see. The black robin. Meet the black robin of New Zealand. Found in the forests of Southeast Island, Rangatira, and Mangera Island in New Zealand's Chatham Islands group. The black robin is a small, sparrow-sized bird with ashy black and brown plumage. It mates for life, nests in hollow trees and stumps, and is a poor flyer. This spelled disaster for the species just a few decades ago, when cats and rats depleted the population to a mere 5 individuals. And even worse, only one of those was a mature female. Old Blue was her name, and she is the mother of all the black robins in existence today. Oh my God, I've got tears in my eyes and goosebumps all over just saying that. I love this story. This is so beautiful. Anyway, back in 1980, when the population was at its lowest point, Dr. Don Merton, an officer in the New Zealand Department of Conservation, set about breeding a bunch of new babies through Old Blue. Ultimately, the result has been incredible for the species, and while black robins are still considered endangered, they are no longer critically so. In fact, the program is now being used as a case study for how to save endangered birds around the world. And what of Old Blue, the lady robin who made all of this possible? She lived to the ripe old age of 14, unheard of in a species with an average lifespan of 4. Wow. Number 20, screaming frogs. So moving away from cuteness, we now have screaming frogs. Well, what can I say, except that when I was younger, I had a lot of contact with frogs and toads. I loved them, and they were all over the place where I grew up. I never once heard them scream like this. Never.
This is the biggest frog caught out of the little salmon. And he's mad.
One could say that I never pissed them off to this extent. I don't know, because they look pretty distressed in these videos. But I'm pretty sure I would have heard this at least once. Not all the frogs and toads I picked up knew that I wasn't going to hurt them. Frogs scream when they perceive danger. It is not a mating call, as some seem to believe. But when you touch a frog, it no longer feels safe. Thus, it emits a high-pitched screech. I handled many a frog when I was younger, and they never screamed like this. Maybe I'm a frog whisperer. Number 21, Philippine Eagle. I love this guy. Well, I do have a thing for birds. The Philippine Eagle, also known as the monkey-eating eagle or Great Philippine Eagle, is an endangered species of eagle which is endemic to forests in the Philippines. It has brown and white coloured plumage, a shaggy crest, and generally measures 86 to 102 centimetres. That's about 2.82 to 3.35 feet in length, and weighs 4.04 to 8 kilograms. That's about 8.9 to 17.6 pounds. It is considered the largest of the extant eagles in the world in terms of length and wing surface, with Stella's sea eagle and the harpy eagle being larger in terms of weight and bulk. Among the rarest and most powerful birds in the world, it has been declared the Philippine national bird. It is critically endangered, mainly due to massive loss of habitat resulting from deforestation in most of its range. And killing a Philippine eagle is punishable under Philippine law by up to 12 years in prison and heavy fines. Number 22, the giant African land snail. The giant African land snail has been considered a significant cause in pest issues around the world. Internationally, it is the most frequently occurring invasive species of snail. Outside of its native range, this snail thrives in many types of habitat in areas with mild climates. It feeds voraciously and is a vector for plant pathogens, causing severe damage to agricultural crops and native plants. This snail is listed as one of the top 100 invasive species in the world. The giant African snail is native to East Africa and can be traced back to Kenya and Tanzania. In many places, release into the wild is illegal. Nonetheless, the species has established itself in some temperate climates, and its habitat now includes most regions of the humid tropics, including many Pacific islands, southern and eastern Asia, and the Caribbean. The giant snail can now be found in agricultural areas, coastland, natural forest, planted forests, riparian zones, scrub and shrublands, urban areas, and wetlands. The giant African snail is a herbivore that eats a wide range of plant material, fruit and vegetables, paper and cardboard. It sometimes eats sand, very small stones, bones from carcasses, and even concrete as calcium sources for its shell. Is there anything it doesn't eat? In rare instances, the snails consume each other. That answers my question. Number 23, the exploding ant. High in the treetops of Borneo, there's an ant with a deadly secret. It can explode. On the outside, it's just an inconspicuous brownish red ant. It lacks large mandibles, cannot sting, and generally seems like easy pickings for any predator with a rumbly in the tumbly. But when these ants feel threatened, they raise up their rumps as a warning, says Alice Lassini, an entomologist with Natural History Museum Vienna in Austria, who described the first new species of exploding ant since 1935 in the journal Zookeys. Then, if the would-be attacker, a much larger weaver ant, say, doesn't back off, one or more tiny ants bite down on it, angle their backsides in close, and flex so hard that their abdomens burst at the seams. By tearing themselves apart, the ants sacrifice themselves to protect the rest of the colony. Fittingly, Lassini and her co-authors named the new ant Colobopsis explodens, though the ability to blow up is not the species' only interesting attribute. For one, when they explode, the ants unleash a secretion that is bright yellow, sticky, and toxic. What's more, Lassini says, this lethal yellow goo has a distinct and not unpleasant smell that's strangely reminiscent of curry. Pass the turmeric, please. Number 24, the Hooded Pitohui. The most venomous creatures on Earth are fish and snakes. There are some species of amphibians and mammals that are known to be venomous, but there are no known species of venomous bird. However, this little songbird of New Guinea with its black and orange plumage, the Hooded Pitohui, is poisonous to eat or touch, making the distinction between poisonous and venomous. According to Wiki, toxic birds use toxins to defend themselves from predators. No species of bird is known to actively inject or even produce venom, but these birds usually sequester poisons from animals and plants that they feed on, commonly from poisonous insects. The Pitohui sequesters a toxin in their skin and feathers, which causes numbness and tingling in those touching the bird. The The Hooded Pitohui acquires its poison from parts of its diet, the chlorocene beetle, which is also a likely source of the lethal toxins found in Colombia's poison dart frog. But the real question is, why is the Hooded Pitohui poisonous? What drove these birds to pick the highly toxic beetles as their primary food source? A tiny defenseless dart frog needs all the help it can get, but a free-flying bird with claws and a powerful beak, why the Hooded Pitohui ended up with toxin is anyone's guess. By the way, since stumbling across this, I have found a few more birds that are poisonous. The Ifrita, the rufous or little shrike thrush also sequester toxin in their skin and feathers. The African spur-winged goose is toxic to eat, as it sequesters poison in its tissues from the blister beetles that it feeds on. Common quail are also known to be toxic and able to cause coturnism, which is characterized by muscle soreness and may lead to kidney failure. Number 25, the Frillback Pigeon. So now we have curly pigeons. Never in my life have I seen one of these, and I think I would have remembered this. This was sent to me by a friend last night. Believed to have originated somewhere in Asia Minor, the Frillback Pigeon is the result of many years of selective breeding. Its distinctive features are the frill or curls on the wing shield feathers, as well as at the end of the foot feathers or muffs. Slightly larger than other pigeon breeds, with long tail and wing feathers, they are considered some of the most elegant of fancy pigeon breeds and are very popular at pigeon beauty contests. And they come in all kinds of colours. Check this out. This was taken from another source called Darwin's Pigeons. Quote, "The frillback is an ancient breed and is said to come from Asia Minor, but no clear country of origin can be located. The frillback is an unusual looking pigeon with its covert wing feathers, on a good example, curled all over. The flights and tail are only slightly altered, and although crinkled, the bird has a strong power of flight should they need to." So not something that has been developing only in the last couple of years then. And by the way, this site called them Darwin's Pigeons because Darwin owned some. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.